This conference will now be recorded.
Your microphone's on.
We're waiting for copies to be made.
We're just talking about giving out apples for trick or treat. Nothing important.
Okay, thank you.
It was.
We used to, when the boys were little in this little cul-de-sac, there was a dentist. They had toothpaste and toothbrushes.
I've seen that.
Nice.
Yes. That's not what the kids want.
Talon gave me the prunes that were, somebody gave me prunes. So I got,
I know, right?
I got prunes. I'm like, I feel like the mom tax used to get chocolate. Potatoes would be a good idea.
The salty snack, because sweet, salty, salty.
Did your kid get a potato?
Wait, what?
There was one in there, but I think that was like at the last stop and Bo was done, so he didn't go over. Was that an Eastern? But we heard someone say.
Oh, yeah. Who did?
No, it was.
Who does it?
Some years it should be a zucchini. You're like, you know, when you have like the 9 million zucchini, like, where's the zucchini?
I saw like a reel on it, and the family was like, we put potato in, and everyone kept
You can make
grabbing it. We never
stamps?
got here to make our
You can make a
candy.
stamp?
Kids kept grabbing potato.
I mean,
It's
somebody really gave out potatoes?
Yeah, Conan had a potato last night.
That's awesome.
She's like, what did I put this?
Josephine went up to the golf course with a friend, and they went to one house, and it was, dark, and they're like, no one is back here, take the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Oh, and so they
Came
did.
home with 6 pounds of candy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So.
Go have a whole pumpkin. It's from a whole pumpkin? No, like the basket, like this basket full.
We,
I just from down here, not Main Street, but like just lower in it.
I always try to have non-candy treats too, so I ordered like 20 kazoos or whatever. Those were the first thing to go.
Awesome. We got like 3 houses in and I was like, oh, I got candy, are we done?
What were those? What are they called? The light up things we gave away?
Glow
Glow sticks. Thank you. I just couldn't think of it. I think they were excited.
They love
I
roast
feel like the
eggs.
apples were a hit, were the apples a hit for it?
For some of the kids, some people were like, yeah, I want a red one.
Oh, you had options?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or,
They were both,
species of apples.
they were both heirlooms.
We didn't get
They
one.
are?
From, the neighbor was gone 2 Sundays ago, and well,
Oh, they're off their tree?
I had to ladder.
The moose ate all of the ones in Jeffers, so there wasn't any for us to get there. They had a good early trick or treat. And now I have fat birds. I don't know what they are. They're like this big in my crabapple tree, and they like eat part of an apple, look dirty at it, and then like, yeah, they're eating the crab apples, which is weird.
Oh, we get the
But they're
deer
like
for our
fat.
apples.
Really,
What color?
they're black with like a white and almost gold speckle pattern to them.
Oh, are they
Starling.
starlings?
No, they're huge. I'm like, it's like a mini pigeon. I'm like, that's like game bird size right there. I don't know. So they're the fat birds, and then we have the uncoordinated birds. So that's the 2 hanging out in the tree. I don't eat crab apples, so it's fine. That's why, I think that's why I have them this year, because I don't have my outdoor cat anymore, so.
All right, here's the pizza dough.
Well, the next Florida trip's selling butter braids, so if you want to find a kid that needs some, who wants to buy some butter braids from him. Nice.
How was it? You went? Florida?
Exhausting.
Yeah.
But the kids were amazing, and I was like super proud of them. I saw kids give up like seats on the bus to people to sit. I saw a lot of holding the door. Not that much trying to run anybody over, and considering there's 44 of them, that was pretty impressive. A whole group of them like were picking up trash at SeaWorld, like in one of the locker areas. I was like, hey. We eventually learned to count to 44 on the bus, so that was good.
Well, your door was all over the place.
She got lost somewhere after medieval times, but she came out in an alternate universe of the whirlpool when I got home, aka my laundry. Like, oh, I found She-Thor. She didn't get sucked up somewhere. I got Talon's phone back from SeaWorld today. Mm-hmm.
Free? I'm not getting stuff out.
Looked like Greg took one too. The concert.
Yeah, but the snake has been lost. It has not come out of the whirlpool.
We all know Ennis was the responsible one in that too.
The same day Talon lost his phone, Greg lost his at the concert. But we have some very nice people that took selfies and videos at the concert. It was actually kind of nice. They're like, sorry, you lost your phone and can't record this, but we'll do it for you.
Oh, nice.
So they record, I can't remember which band. I was like, that was actually kind
Were
of cool.
both of your kids with you?
No,
Oh,
I had one in Florida and
Greg and the other one in Vegas.
oh, well, God, it was a super good concert, wasn't it? What was it?
Sum 41. Green
I
Day
wanted to
played for
go.
2 hours. And they gave guitar lesson on stage and gave the guitar away.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And then they lit their drum set on fire. They closed down the whole Vegas Strip when the concert got out. It was, I can't remember how many thousands of people, but like the whole thing, them walking, they had to close in Vegas at the fairgrounds or something. I was like, yeah, please come back.
That'd
in
be
one
so many
piece.
people. Wow.
They said it was amazing. And there was like coconuts that they were selling, and it had all the bands, like, but as half of their name is coconut, so it was like Blink Coconut, Green Coconut, 30 Seconds to Coconut,
Really, they all played?
Sum 41, Green Day. They said Offspring was amazing. Like when I came in, MXPX, Good Charlotte. Like it was huge. It was huge.
My high school days.
They were so tired they couldn't. They took a break halfway through the day for a nap. My family took a nap. Yeah. They didn't go to bowling for sleep, so that was like so disappointing.
Dang.
They saw 311 and Zebrahead. I can't remember who else. Beach Bunny, which I didn't know the Beach Bunny was.
Are you super jealous or are you okay with the way we're doing? Jealous.
So jelly. So jelly. And then they camped and they hiked all the way back up.
Where?
I mean, they went through Bryce Canyon, they went through the Mineral Mountains, they went through the Salt Lake Flats. They wanted to do more there, but that storm hit. And they were like, we should get home. I want to go to Bryce Canyon. No, they drove.
They were there this weekend?
No, they got back the 25th, 26th,
I was
26th.
there this weekend. Well,
A lot
not
of
in
people
Vegas,
were.
Vegas. I was just north of Vegas.
Lots of people.
Yeah, there were a shit ton of people. Vegas?
A lot
I
of
mean, I saw, I recognize some Ennis people and places.
All right, let's see. She's got a tiny staple.
Do we have any
Do I need the staple?
exercises that we'll be doing tomorrow night? Like get up and do an intro or what I want to be when I grow up?
Do you want to? Can you lead that for us?
Sure.
Is it a formal affair?
No tuxedos here.
For you, yes.
Okay.
Top hat?
I don't own a top hat.
I can hook you up.
Okay, I mean, I need a top hat guy. Not you.
Vintage attic.
It's a,
Place is contentious.
should be a nice dinner.
Are the doors open?
Could you tell? Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been to a Lions, like their annual meeting that
I
they have?
did
They're,
once, but I'm trying to remember where it was and why I was there.
they have so many fun, like goofy lion things that they do. It's,
Yeah, maybe I got invited when I looked at the paper. I don't know why I was there. Where is it usually? So,
well, this one is up at the Wells Fargo.
oh, I was in town. Trying to remember who I went with, but I was, yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
have the largest Lions club
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Montana.
in the state.
Were you doing 7 or 70 copies?
I think only 7.
Oh,
I mean, it's a few
it's
pages.
40, one of those 40. Well, I think that's what this like teaches, I think.
With the,
We're a satellite branch of Kinko's. So.
They would have Kinko's anymore?
where's the other?
I want all this paperwork too. I've
Well,
just got
I
a
didn't
complete
bring
wreck on my
I'd
hands.
like a clean copy of the budget.
I didn't even bring any of that. Too much stuff, other stuff.
Yeah, but we probably need that. I mean, I can pull it up on.
Yeah.
I didn't count.
Since we are discussing it.
I didn't count. And I was just 35 minutes on the phone before I got angry and said, I will never buy soda again.
I like pink. Well, this is good. Credit won't miss out on too much.
That's true.
Oh, and then way to find them. You can come and speak any almost. Crazy. It's a huge box. Yeah, they don't even, they're not even made by the same
Ginger has.
brand. I mean, they're probably maybe owned by the same. So that.
Your
box
original copy?
still is.
Okay.
Is that?
That works.
Wherever that went. That pile. I'm trying to keep.
Strange thing. So I'm gonna take out 40. That one.
You got your hand.
I don't know how many things that big are big. Or who's packaged it.
I don't know. Who wants what?
All different sizes and all different colors. There's tan, black.
I don't know.
Right. I'll let you know. I'll bring one vinyl.
Yeah.
Friday, let's see what I'm Have you seen those? Thank you. Have you seen those?
I try and make them like multifaceted, you know, just kind of dynamic, if you will. As dynamic as I can.
And sometimes it takes a while. the one today, and then Corey sent an email question and answer. Okay, perfect.
What am I
So
looking
it's just
at?
that.
Yep, the references could be upon request.
What is this? What is this? That is what I reached, some information that I reached out and got today. Oh, okay, from the. So not what you had asked for from, I'm assuming? Oh, no, that's still coming, I think.
Invoice.
Well, here's. Oh, this is the problem, is that you need some extra. Oh, did they get collated together? Yeah. Oh, did they? Yeah,
Maybe
I
she
have,
did.
I have, 3 of page 1 in the back of mine. So if anybody's missing.
Oh, I see. Same here. Because the final page is, was this your final page?
Yeah.
So I see it.
Yeah, so like the last 3 pages maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Yeah. Oh, it's- I think that's probably our-
Okay, so this is. Page 4, Carla. Page 4. Page 4. Yeah, I gotta pull it up because we didn't have copies of that.
Why isn't this in here then? The James fine.
Are those for us or?
I don't.
I think
I have that.
I've got mine on my computer.
I
so.
have.
How did you put your question?
Me?
Oh, you're, no.
I said, hi guys, sorry to bug you, but I'm
There,
worried.
Nikki.
Please clarify a couple, do you want me to just forward it?
Yeah, it's mostly just like the time
Could you
frame.
please send any information?
Oh, sure, Brandy. I didn't know
The
you
following
did.
demands that were failed to provide, and also like a complete breakdown of the cost of service that the town is using, as well as the amount of money the town pays the county and the criminals coverage. And then I copied and pasted from the town attorney's email of stuff of for clarification. Do you want me to send you the original?
Oh yeah, I ended up 3 of the same first.
Just a portion of mine. Yeah, the last 3 pages seems very different.
You know what has per norm things. I think if we had 500 invoices, we'd be able to.
Anyway, it's like.
Do I need to provide my request?
Sorry. You
How
okay?
I asked for this?
What is it?
Do I need to provide how I own my email to ask for this?
I still didn't hear you say.
She asked for it. Should I have included my request?
For your questions?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
or, I
I
mean, at this point, they should be like definitely, I guess, available, I would think. On like a matter of public record.
I'll send it.
yeah, I mean, it's just a quick.
Or and a copy and paste. It's sent it.
All right, so all the copies are made, I think. You guys asked for. Okay.
Do we want to provide, isn't that your question?
Yeah, do you want to print my email? Does it go with that? I just sent it
With-
to you.
Or questions as well?
Open it.
Sorry, I emailed it.
Did you ask for a third one?
Oh, you're okay.
What's that?
It's up there. Sorry, this one and.
That one is up there.
Let me see. It's the questions Corey asked John and his response, and then Dream Bonds.
Are those ones up there?
Yes.
And you didn't say time period. That's what I was after.
And are you maybe gonna have James just do like a run over of his presentation or?
Yeah.
share this one.
I have that one, but where did I put that one? What's that? Like with 3 months reply.
Or a synopsis.
I guess I can print this.
Thank you, Ginger.
Which one do you want?
I guess. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
How many copies? Should we, Nikki, how many copies of yours do you want? 10?
Sure.
Okay. All right. That aside, all that. Maybe. This goes with these. All right. First thing that we need options on. We'll just get started now because I think. Well, I better print your 10 copies and then we'll do that. Oh, you got what you. Yeah, this is the. So that I can figure out context of what we were. So who needs this?
My intro to my question, my request for the question.
So what is
Oh, you want to this response from Kelder?
Here's for. All right. So the first thing we have to discuss in our work session is the water PER and our status on it, because I need to let Colette know if we need to change priority for sure. Because in our original water preliminary engineering report, we had priority number 1 as the well itself, right? And then we would have to do an amendment if we change that due to, so remember last summer we patched the well tower. We had divers in and they actually patched the plate at the bottom. There's 6 bolts. Remember this? And then that patch didn't hold this fall, and thankfully there was actually a dive team in Butte, so we got a quick response over and repatched it. So with warmer temperatures, they think it's going to hold better than last time. So that's a theory. We also had Joe Brummel come in and make an emergency plan in case that didn't hold. So that's now in our local emergency planning committee binder up front. So there's a plan in case that doesn't hold. But as far as the overall PER, now we have to figure out which timeline and funding you want to go with. So option 1, the total project for cost estimated from Great West is $4,008,000 for both the well and a new 700-gallon pre-stressed concrete storage. And we can either do that 2 ways. First way is we use our Madison County ARPA Mag grant at $225,000 the town ARPA mag grant at 214,133. We'd have to have 10,867 in town reserves, and then go for SRLF loan forgiveness at 750,000, and then a loan at 2,800,000, 2808. And that's if we wanted to do it in the timeline where we would start our design phase for 2025. Or we wait and apply for the funding through DNRC and MSEP, which is in the legislative session, and see. Like, all of that was awarded in this last one, but we don't know if that will happen again in this one. So you would still run the risk of, or still run that you would still have to go into SRF loan. And that would put the design phase more likely into 2026. So one more year out. So before I prepare a resolution for next week, I kind of need to see, those are two options, or put, so that we can let Great West know how to finalize the PDR as far as funding.
Didn't we reprioritize once already?
Yeah, but I wanted you to be clear on the funding options and that it's a year between the two design phases. We know that the tank and the well kind of almost have to go together. They're both a necessity at this point. Not a little bit, a lot of it.
So even just chatting with Colette at our training the other day, it's property to have property for the water tower is something we can definitely be working on yesterday. And I don't know who owns that property adjoining next to the water tower. I think it's a
No, not downtown. That's you don't want
The upper
anything.
one.
You don't want anything lower than your system.
Oh.
That's why the one over there doesn't work either as a storage tank, because it's lower than, it's not gravity fed like the rest of it. So there's that. So that's our biggest hurdle anyway. So
And a 2-year wait. When you say design, are you talking?
So if we actually went through the legislative process, that means design. So that would be 2024, right? 2024. 25. So the end of the design phase would be 25, and you wouldn't start the project until 2026. But we don't have the property up there yet either,
So we have to go through design phase before. I don't know why I have it stuck in my head that we have to place an order for this thing, and then there's a 2-year wait list until we even get
What I thought it was too.
yeah.
like a tank.
And who owns the property that we're,
The town.
oh,
And there's different ways to put the tank in. So that's part of the design and how we can do it. It depends on the footprint and if we got another piece of property adjoining. If we could secure another piece of property. So that's why I was like, well, to take out a loan for something that we wouldn't have.
Oh, to buy the property too, right?
Mm-hmm. But we also have to we have property that we cannot use in water as well.
So that and
trade
hope
it?
to make the difference.
Figure out the difference between the two. So that's what I was thinking. If you're actually looking at a longer term plan, it makes more sense to apply for the funding through the DNRC and MSEP because it's 2 years out for a tank and everything else anyway. But I wasn't sure how you guys felt about that.
The grant seems to make more sense than a straight out loan. We've got to wait anyway.
Can we go ahead and place the order? Or we have to?
That's a good question on a tank. But then what do you do if you get it? Like, where do you deliver a giant tank to?
You
Probably
don't
don't want to
property.
move them like a whole lot. I don't know that. What does that come on?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that's still 2 years out, right? So theoretically, you should be able to secure a location, right? In that amount of time.
Just a thought, is the engineers are probably gonna have a pretty good handle on still what timeframes.
They're gonna be.
As far as how far out a structure would be.
It's still at that 2-year thing. I talked to
I would
Colette
imagine.
for that one, for the specific, for the pre-stressed, which was the one that we decided was most feasible. I mean, gonna get the most long-term effects out of, and that's the more earthquake proof of the two options that we had.
Does
So
it make sense to you for us to apply for the grant? See what the time frame is on that, and maybe it'll all come together, fall into place.
It
And
does.
we don't get the
I feel
grant,
like 2
though.
years,
Right.
then we can apply for the loan. But 2 years should be enough time to try and secure the land to have somewhere to put it, right?
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, you could have all this, but if we don't have the space, then it's going to make this other part.
How
So then
much
we'll
land
need-
are we talking?
That, I don't know, that adjoining property is like 5 acres, I think. You'd have to look on cadastral. But that's what makes the most sense because there's already a line there.
Mm-hmm.
But that would do both projects at the same time too, which kind of makes the most amount of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of the general for the resolution? And then
I think so.
okay. I mean,
Vicki, would you state what they've decided, just so I can?
That with us not having the land secured for the location of the 700-gallon concrete storage tank, that it's best to apply for funding through the DNRC and MSEP program for fundings of priorities 1 and 2 on the water PER that was presented by Great West Engineering. So we will have to ask Great West to help us with those applications to DNRC and MSEP. And work on the land.
Thank you.
Okay. And then waiting on the permit to be renewed for the wastewater portion before any decisions are made there. Final decisions. Because there's really nothing to make a decision on until we know what our new treatment requirements are going to be.
And that's another thing from the training. I spoke with DEQ, and they're saying January is the date that they're going to have new DEQ numbers.
Mm-hmm. And then we can update the wastewater PER with those numbers and actually have a real plan as to what we need.
I got a business card for Eric.
Okay. Alright. So that sounds like hopefully the best plan for trying to get something built that will hold. And then go from there. If we have to continue to patch, then we might have to readjust and figure that out. But hopefully we do not. Because we did all 6 bolts this time, not just 1. Alright. So I'll have that for you for next week. I won't be here next week, so Corey, you and I get to sit down. I have to get my CE hours for my EMT. Alright, so on to the sheriff's MOU. So Corey and I met with, Duncan wasn't there the first time, was he? No. Second time. And went through different costs, and that's why I thought your email was interesting. And I guess we need to define timeframes for when we're looking at each thing. Because I have invoices from that aren't in your packet. So I don't know anymore. But when I brought those back to John, he said yes. The field ops, we were billed on 11/28 of 22 for only 1 field ops subscription, and we have 2. And so that definitely needed to be, I need to contact. This was something that John said we need to be rebuilt because it was directly billed to Ennis Police Department on 11/28 for only 1 of the 2 field ops subscriptions.
That's not in here, so we don't have that.
No, and it wouldn't, I think it wouldn't be because this was billed to us, not Madison County. Because then the second one that I saw is for the pro add-on for NSPD, and that was billed to Madison County. You see what I'm saying? So I think this is needs to be coordinated between Central Square, the sheriff's office, and us on who actually gets billed so that we know that they're getting paid for all the, yeah. See what I'm saying? And that's something in the MOU that we discussed with Duncan. So last time we met with Duncan, I asked him to run numbers for us on all the add-ons, all the additional for dispatch, and then trying to figure out some dispatch time in there. And then to run numbers for you guys on what it would be to have an additional coverage option in an MOU and what that would look like. And then should there not be an NSPD for some reason, what it would be to contract Madison County Sheriff's Office. So he's going to run some numbers to give multiple options. That's where we were at. It seemed like a lot of it to me is more how would I put that? Administrative and fine tuning and trying to put it into meeting the needs both ways without taxing 2 services. Other towns are starting to explore different options as well. I'll forward you an email I got from Ginger about Bridger and how they're approaching theirs. They're adding a third officer. They're sent us their budget and trying to figure out what they do. They pay $25,000 for their additional dispatch. So it's kind of all over the board.
Because Dylan's trying to go the opposite way too and contemplating contracting with the sheriff's department.
Yeah, and then
Dylan,
Mhm.
is that not the Beaverhead County seat? So they have their own department too in the town of Dillon?
Police department,
Yeah,
but they're looking.
but they're looking at contracting with the sheriff's department strictly.
Did Duncan give a time frame on getting these numbers?
no, I was to call him once I got back from the Florida adventure because I met him the morning before we flew out. So then I got back and got
16th?
bronchitis. And
Is that right, the 16th?
yeah. So he's supposed to run those numbers and then go from there. And then
Did
I
you
want to
reach out?
clarify all these.
Okay, did you reach out to him?
No. Like I said, I got back sick. Super sick. So I was not here.
Okay.
So, gonna contact him. I'm gonna scan these and send them, cause yeah,
we don't have those.
yeah, I'm gonna make copies of these. So Central Square, when you look at this, from 21, when we started, I think Zerker was the original company, as far as I can understand, and then it got bought by Central Square.
Okay.
So they are one and the same. So if that seems confusing, that's what that is. Zerker is the platform. Central Square is the company that bought that platform. So, Ennis, we didn't go full live with Zerker until February of this year with Zerker.
But we got,
We've had portions of it, but as far as the full use. So that's why the numbers, when we were presented with statistics, I thought that some of the statistics felt odd to me because in one of them said 0 arrests. And I hang out on Mondays for a couple of reasons. One of them being super selfish, that most federal holidays are on Mondays, and that gives me a holiday and a 2-day weekend every once in a while. And the other one is that court was on Mondays. And so that would be the only time where I could kind of observe court, even though I don't really have anything to do with court. But I did remember a Monday where we had a prisoner transfer from Bozeman being done by Madison County Sheriff's Office to here, and the power wasn't on. So they were only seen in our court because of an arrest by us. So that's when I thought that was strange, and that's when I figured out that we didn't put all of our stuff into Zerker until 23, so that's where the numbers came from. So I looked at, and I learned more than I ever wanted to know yet again. Every time you ask a question of a lawyer or a judge, you get a really long answer as to how you define arrest and what's detained and how all of that works. So still, honestly, could not tell you how all of that works.
But right now you think we've had one arrest?
So what I did then was went to Montana Board of Criminal website.gov, because both departments report equally to them, and went from there. And in that, Madison County had 44 arrests and in 2022. And I'd have to pull it up again. Ennis had, I want to see, 14 on the same standard of how you say arrest, but it doesn't categorize them by, like, I don't know, severity.
So Duncan's comments to it were that if you're not, my takeaway from it was if you're not actually checked in or looked or fingerprinted,
Yeah.
it's not an arrest. So if you're told to show up at court at a later date, you have to show up. So.
But didn't John stand right here and pride himself on he didn't have any arrests because everybody appears in front of the judge in his car?
I do recall.
So was there arrests or were there not? Because he stood right here and said there were no arrests because everybody appears before a judge in his car.
It depends on the time period and how you define it. But there was we knew of the one that was not in there, but that's why. It's just, and to date, I do know 23 is at 35 for the county and 4 for the town as of October.
What was that?
35 and 4 was where I was at when I just looked.
And the
It was
reason,
44 and
It's
14.
because we didn't use Zerker right, basically. Like, we didn't put the information in the same way that the county was using it. So it's,
Is this also the program that they like had a start date for, but we didn't, and so they paid for it and then they didn't get reimbursed because
yeah,
we didn't go
exactly.
online in time?
So that's what I was
So
trying to figure out.
who got billed for?
What, when, is what I'm trying to figure out. And that's why I find it really weird that, like, some of it is billed to Ennis Police and some of it's billed to Madison County.
because we're both using it.
No, I understand that portion of it, but it's like everything else, just trying to make it clear. So, like, this portion right here is billed to Ennis Police. This portion is billed to Madison County, but it clearly states that it's an NSPD add-on, both from Central Square. So,
What's the date of this? 2/3/23, 11/22. Well, maybe
is it
this
something
was
you pay for every year?
a portion, like a
so what
portion of
I'd
it.
like to do is match up invoices with the counties so that we know that at the end of the day, that Central Square is billing the appropriate portion to the appropriate place. And this is just the Zerker portion. And
Because
then we
they
have
turn
other.
and bill us for this?
Yep, and then they, But that seems weird. When they had our billing address and this was I don't know. And these aren't in the ones that Nikki got.
Yeah. Also the ACH information on there.
Which one?
It's a little scary to have on public record. Maybe I'm not.
So that's what I'd like to do and clarify how much everything actually is each year. Make sure that the dispatch portion is correct and all the additions are getting paid for in the mill amount. and then see what numbers Duncan comes up with as far as different options. And then hold some public meetings as to, do we want 24/7 coverage? Do we want,
Why would we not for the same price?
if it is the same price, I would understand that statement. The ones that I was presented with said 50% of the day and 50% of the night, so that's not 24/7.
I think
It is.
on the top, sorry.
Unless I read that wrong.
Used it as it says on the first page. Of note, the 50% projection is only used for budget breakdown sample. Under Sheriff Schroeder used that number to project a cost, not to say that we would only provide service 50% of the time. We stated that multiple times in all our meetings with council members and the mayor.
And then you'd have to go through what each portion is. I'm saying that outlining all the details of that as far as what we would expect for ordinance enforcement officers and how close they are and how we'd work that out. No different than like Ruby covering Madison Valley Medical Center. Those two ambulances are working really well to cover back and forth and the thing in between. And so kind of those nuances of almost like the details. But I think we need to hear Duncan out and all of the different numbers and where each of those numbers comes from.
So if this was on the agenda for this, then why don't we have that? Or we should have been proactive for this stuff. Yes, I should have accurate numbers. Maybe next time.
I mean, it leaves us.
So this is what it is. Was the sheriff invited to the meeting or informed of the meeting? Because Craig didn't know about the meeting.
Yeah, did he
It just
know?
seems like there's this.
I actually emailed you to ask if they were invited and or informed. I didn't hear back from you. So
When
I'm
did you
just
send it?
wondering, I think it was when I found out the meeting was today. Because
So-
I mean, obviously, it would be really great to have them here. Because here we are again for a work session, but we can't really work on anything.
So you keep saying that this is pertaining to this year's budget, the 23-24. So the 23-24 budget has the dispatch agreement that was agreed to and that we already owe under those terms. It is 1 year prior. So when I talk to Duncan, whenever we figure out exactly what it is, we would pay them for this year, be able to budget at the 24-25. Does that make sense?
No.
It's
So
retro.
The county's only asking to be paid once a year.
It's retroed.
For the year before.
And then where did 17 mils come from? That was my other question. And we're still trying to figure that out. So prior to this MOU, all the towns were asked to pay 17 mils.
And this isn't the first MOU ever. Like the ones
No.
that James brought up are not the first MOU. Right?
And so that was the question, was like, where did 17 mils come from? And how is that calculated? And Duncan was gonna look in to see if he knew anybody that knew the history of where 17 mils in the previous agreement, where that number came from. Is that, I mean, it kind of makes sense because then each town is different and it's mill base, you know what I mean? What a mill is
Oh,
worth.
yeah, because
So
of
it would be
taxable
different
value.
in each town.
Makes sense.
I'm still hesitant just because I would like it to be fair And I know that seems whatever. You can take that one way or the other, but,
It's coming down the chain for all the other towns too, though. Everybody's gonna end up paying. Or
Right.
in this
That's,
discussion,
Duncan.
everybody's gonna end up in this discussion.
Sheriff had just said that it was just a lot to do all at once, which is totally understandable. So I would like to be able to present multiple options and see why we are where we are. I don't feel like expectations are clear. As far as I'm not a mind reader. At one point we voted on a resolution to put to the vote for additional mills for a second officer. And it was vast majority of this group. And then we put that to the town and they voted for the additional mills to go to Officer Fisher. I just need to know where you want to go. And I want to be able to present you with actual numbers in a format that all makes sense, because we're still not matching up invoices. And so that always makes me wonder, like, I hope that nobody's getting double billed, like the county isn't getting double billed for something, or we're not getting, I mean, we have this, we probably didn't send it to the county, the field op subscription. Did they pay for 2 field op subscriptions and we paid for one? And
Even if they did, what is the cost of that? Like, it's
$132.30, but I'm just saying, like, why would, I mean, if we're being paid, we're billed for one, and the county is getting billed for 2, and we're only using 1 or 2 of those services, then I still think it needs to be reconciled with Central Square, that it's
That's
only
easy
one
enough,
thing.
though.
Yes.
That's a phone call and a printout of a statement for Ennis PD and Madison County, right?
As long as it's the same.
So,
Yes.
I mean, you're right. I think we need true numbers and options and to do what's fiscally responsible for the residents, taxpayers of Ennis. It's simple, really. I think we've said that before. Am I, is that not what we want?
We all have, and the public has.
But we keep just kicking the can, and here we sit again at a work session, and we don't even have what we need
Yeah,
to be able
we
to.
need to start playing as a team because this is just ridiculous.
That's a
Everybody
good
needs to
point.
get along. It's
It's
insane.
And with the county too.
Yeah, exactly. A waste of time. How many months are we going on this?
I think, in Mr. Greenbaum's thing, he says, don't talk to the sheriff independently. I think Commissioner Hankins, you brought it, Commissioner Ellison brought it up at the September 21st meeting. Like, I know I've mentioned it, like, hey, can't we all just sit down, and why hasn't it been on the agenda besides tonight?
So,
And with an official invite to the sheriff and Madison County, so it's productive. And all the stakeholders are in the room to make the decision.
Absolutely.
mm-hmm.
And I do remember that meeting because I asked John Moore about what's the problem, and he said county wasn't playing nice. If I remember correctly, I could go back and watch the tape, but he says county's not playing nice. And I was like, we need to quit throwing sand. I think that was the meeting. We need to get together and work on this.
So, don't disagree. I feel like if you are to cancel an MOU, I would hope that you would have clear expectations of what the next would look like. And I have not seen clear expectations, and it's very hard to meet something when I don't know what it is. I can't present it to you as a fact or an idea when I don't know what the expectation is.
But you could,
So also, it seemed like a lot of what was going on was simple upset behavior upset. I don't know how else to put that. I didn't like what John said at this moment. Okay, that is not something that you wait until past the 4th of July to say. If there was something that needed to happen, we just need to have a conversation far before.
What's the
this is
specifics?
also pointed at the sheriff. I don't think that that's, when I read the letters, that's not how I take any of it, as being spiteful and personal jabs, honestly. Like, I don't know. That may be the case. He may not have liked how John, whatever, I don't know. But these letters are not, I understand where you're coming, where you would, with the MOU, you would like to see what he wants to renegotiate, but you could also have things and terms in mind that you would like to renegotiate also. And I think we should, there, at your last meeting after our meeting, which I would have loved to have attended that also, an invite would have been nice. It would have been nice for you and Corey to have some direction of where to go with this conversation.
So this is what I propose for on the agenda for the one, is that you choose a committee, because we have to now, by new state law requirements, if you're a quorum, it has to be recorded and posted.
But you, me, and Corey would not be a quorum.
True, that's what I'm saying. But since we've been going over there.
Right, so why can't they just come here and we can all be on record? That's all the discussion is.
I think that's why I've
been
asked
asking
that.
for.
Why aren't we all not in a room just like this, on the record, with everybody else that wants to be on the call and work through this? Is that a possibility?
Okay.
I mean, is that doable? Is that
Let me see if I can.
is that an option?
Mm-hmm.
The question I guess they're asking is there a way to get Duncan to the table to have a discussion about an MOU? Is that our question?
Yep.
What do you, clear questions that can be answered and expectations that expect to be met.
Yes.
That's what I'm after at this point.
And I think it's clear we want 24-hour coverage in our town.
Based on,
Based on the quote that the county gave, if they can provide it for the same price, then why would we not look into that as an option?
24 hours, and this is what I asked, 24-hour coverage at what cost? And then, how long do those terms last?
It doesn't have to be a permanent,
We're all watching all of the towns and how it's working and this, that, and the other. I do know that, I haven't seen the numbers for sure, but Big Sky's contract is completely different next year. It almost, with Gallatin, you're making that face. What did Duncan say in the meeting? Do you remember this part?
I think $950,000, something like that, split 3 ways between Gallatin County, the
Big
Sky Resort Tax District, and higher than that.
I know that.
Like $1 million.
1.5-ish.
Oh, really?
More than that, actually.
So,
but
as those change over the years, so what's feasible long-term? We're looking at a 1 year and a this and a that. So we have to know what the trends are for those, not just this year, but 2 years from now. And if it doubles in 3 years, can you still afford it? Do you see what I'm saying? I just want to be clear that, how are we going to plan for this? Not just this year, not just next year.
Well, I think it's a 3 or 5 year contract. Is that reasonable? if we went that way. I'm just saying, 3 to 5 years. But even at that point, we would have to see, what would it cost to have our own police department?
For 24/7, that's, yeah,
You know,
that's
that's
about 750,000. I mean, to run it.
yeah, that's currently, we're talking 3 to 5 years, or if you're saying that
Mhm.
this goes up in 3 years, can we afford that contract? 3 years is probably not $750,000 anymore. I'm sure that is gonna be more as well. It's something to be reevaluated at that time. But right now, we do need to see what our options are to give us the best coverage and be financially responsible.
Yeah, I'd argue it's the most for the least. So I don't know that we need, well, 24/7 coverage. I mean, arguably depends on what we currently have.
I
right
would
now.
love to see what
So-
the calls are at certain hours between like,
What about things that aren't called in? If you're patrolling, we had a federal drug bust in town. A federal drug bust in town. If we have somebody on, maybe they're patrolling, maybe they're picking up on this before we're having federal drug busts. And there's probably more that strings off of that federal drug bust. I mean,
and then the other part of this that we have
Patrolling other areas, not just Main Street, 17 times in less than 20 minutes.
the other portion of this that, I mean, we're talking about having Sheriff Hedges in. I really feel like the school needs to be part of the conversation as far as we have, at the end of this year, our SRO agreement is up with them, what they may need in the future, what,
They're willing to pay.
no, that's absolutely very important. I don't discount that one bit. That needs to all be a part of it. And if he were here, he could answer that. I think our school is, you know, it is top priority, as is the community and the 3 o'clock hour, whatever.
so really what we need is a stakeholders meeting with the sheriff's office. All of their options as far as partial coverage, a combined coverage, what they can do for the school. Sheriff had just said, you know, a little bit of training and they can do some stuff there. It would have to be, and that would be maybe a MOU between them and the school, depending on what they want and how that plays out. But it's really hard to make a decision when you don't know what everybody needs. Does that make sense?
Stakeholders meeting, that's a good word. Good use.
The school.
Well, we've been told what the school needs from John.
I think those are two separate MOUs.
They
are.
But if we're saying we would like to contract with the county solely, and I guess that would mean that NSPD is no longer in existence, that's a whole process. When I asked Sheriff Hedges how he felt about that option, he said that a good working relationship is truly what he wants. That he sees value in Ennis having its own police department, especially as the county grows and it feels more weight on it. I mean, overall, it's at 11% for Madison County is our growth, was the last. And it feels like more than that sometimes, and maybe it'll slow down. But typically we're at 1%. So this was a big jump all the way around, and that stretched what resources we had. And I think thinning resources, I mean, financially, we have to do the best that we can there. I don't know if we'll continue at 11%. And that is a push for county. If they're getting, there's 16 now and 2 more detention officers and another
4.
Yeah.
6 total officers.
6 total officers. Is that enough at 11%? Will it keep, I hope. But
I think it's the highest that it's been in ever.
there's a lot going on in Madison County, and that's a lot
Yeah.
of turf.
But it's easier for a larger organization to scale at that level, right? You know, they can add 3 officers, which, you know, if they've got 16, what is that, 20%, easier than adding 3 officers here, which would be 200% of what you are. So they have that ability to flex and flow and scale more easily than a small entity.
And for a town to look at it, 750,000, I mean, that's just a number that we have, keeps being thrown around. But to look at a $750,000 expense to have our own department,
That's not an option with the town limits as small as they are. It's just not an option.
I don't think that we can take that on. That's not, I don't think that's,
But that's not really an accurate number, so to just be throwing a number around, we could throw any number around.
Right?
I mean, we could throw $100,000 around. We can throw any number around, it's not an accurate number.
that 750 came from Manhattan. I don't
That was
have that.
Manhattan's
That was
budget.
Yeah.
742,000.
For how many?
5 officers.
5 officers. For the town of Manhattan, and their voters voted that in.
But to change constantly is creating a lot of strife. You see what I mean? Where we said yes to going for a second officer and Mills, and we put that to the voters. The voters voted for that. And now, like, I've heard conversation of, well, this other thing is now the way we want to go. I just need to know expectations. And I can't read those when one action says one thing and then a year later a different action says another. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, so where I'm coming from is we reached out to have a meeting about the MOU because nothing was getting done. And here the county has this option for us on the table. The taxpayers deserve to know that there's an option there. That is my only, I mean, I don't know, it's incredibly frustrating because we could have been working on this for how long and nobody wants to make a priority and meet with each other and get something done. There's no teamwork. It shouldn't be really as hard as it is. My only thing is I met with him and they presented an option and the taxpayers deserve to know that there are options.
To which number 5 of John Moore's response said that you guys need to do your homework. So to me, that would say you were doing your homework.
Oh,
All right.
but we're really not because.
Pretty much.
Commissioner,
It's a
yeah.
very kind way of saying, you know, like,
Yeah, not even that kind, really, which I don't care.
Bashing fests are not appropriate.
Correct.
All the way around.
Absolutely.
I reached out because,
Well, okay.
I mean, what is the intent of this? You want to know our intentions, expectations. What are the intentions and expectations of what we received that was action of disrespect, action of intimidation, action of insult, action of abuse of power? What is going on here? We're simply asking for a meeting, for an MOU, for months, and we can't get that. So we sit here again tonight at a work session that we're supposed to be able to discuss the MOU. We can't discuss it, but we are sure this is all very interesting. We're told not to be emotional. This is emotional. This is completely, in my opinion, and I don't know who I go really to find out, is unacceptable. Every bit of it.
Just to bring it up, as is the Facebook post from a town employee.
Yeah.
We've got problems that are just being basically ignored. And here we sit again, not able, I just.
So very nicely, I'm going to say that there is a difference between an HR matter and they are not discussed in a public meeting. If you have HR matters that need to be discussed as a commission, you must schedule those for certain reasons as closed meetings.
That's fine, but this is not HR.
The
Yeah, I don't think that is. And
This is telling us that we're not doing our job correctly at all.
so
what prompted this, I guess, is, and maybe we need to ask Greenbaum, what prompted this?
all right.
I mean, do you understand? Are you,
Anybody else feel this way? Maybe I'm being
well,
sensitive.
I've even said it, maybe I'm crazy,
This
but
is
I don't think
far
so.
off
I
sharing.
get that,
you.
and I get that, and it's duly noted. I apologize for being late, also to
You're
the
good.
public. I
You're
apologize
good,
for
Craig,
that.
you're good.
But the purpose of this meeting is not that. So I think that discussion and that, I think it's how do we get this MOU and how we go forward with the basically the law enforcement. The people we have an MOU, do we replace what we have?
Well,
So
Thing provided, I mean, it's the same thing as the last meeting.
So I think,
Do you see what I'm saying? Like the stakeholders meeting and
I think that would be great.
actual
we
numbers
need to get in a room.
that, and I want to be able to organize some of this chaos as far as timeframes and this, that, and the other, and then understand everything that is involved in all the options.
I think
And then another question
To
is,
follow the charter if there is the decision that the town, and I don't know how you do that, as just a public hearing or 10 on whether or not you abolish a department. And I am trying not to be super emotional in this, but I had the joy of being a town employee for, no, Karen's got me beat and so does Ginger. But other than that, like a good 12 years. And having your department abolished and not being invited to any of the meetings, and I just have a different perspective on how that goes.
I don't, that's not where we're at. And we're being told we cannot be emotional.
But
That's very,
I'm saying that if that is the long-term plan,
It's an option.
it is I'm
it's
not
just-
saying that is not a quick,
Easy. It's not easy.
easy, whatever plan. There's a lot of process involved in that. And we all were here to start fixing the last one of those. So we understand that that process has to happen. I'm just saying. As part of all the decision is all the process and how it needs to be executed to be done legally, no matter which decision is made. But again, really hard to tell when vote for 2 mills, say that you want to put it on the ballot, do it on the ballot, town votes for 2 mills to build towards a police department, and then it seems like there's a lot of the other way.
We
So,
did that, but it's as simple to say as we're somewhere else now. We're somewhere else now and we have options.
I know,
And is the funding ever gonna get there with the town limits, ever? To have an actual 24/7.
so I'd like to arrange a stakeholders meeting between Madison County Sheriff's Office, the school, county commission, you guys, and make sure NSPD is represented. Is there anybody else for a stakeholders meeting to try and figure out kind of our,
I can tell you right
5 year.
now that we wouldn't participate in that. We approve a contract, we don't negotiate the contract, same sort of distinction that you have here. Mainly because it's a big pain for us to have more meetings like that, so.
okay.
I'd be happy to attend as an observer, but I can't necessarily, and I won't commit the commission to a meeting on that subject.
So invite, but
I'll bring
conformal snacks. Okay, so we do want Bill's in charge of snacks. And then I think you need to, once you have multiple options, quite a few public hangouts. Just hear what people want in that format.
That seems reasonable.
And and to meet all of those. I know the school is separate, but I do feel like it's a very integral part of our community and how it works. And I don't want them to feel out of this conversation because it's.
Do we need to invite them then?
It would affect them.
It would affect them
It
greatly.
should.
So the town will negotiate the MOU between the resource officer and the school. That
Not
should
until
be
next
separate.
year.
But I think they should at least know what's going
Absolutely,
on.
absolutely.
Well,
They should not be.
That would cost more than $5,000.
Greenbaum states in here 24/7 coverage. But he says they don't have any reliable data. How the hell do they know? There's nobody out there collecting the data. They don't know what happens if they're not on the street. You gotta hire another police officer, you're still gonna only end up with 2.5, because he's spending his time up there at school. So, what's the difference? We might as well get somebody there that's gonna police.
And data. What do you define as data and what are you collecting? What are you looking for? Again. You see what I'm saying?
Are we looking at dispatch data? for Madison?
Exactly. Or what do you want to find? What are the results that you're looking for? What is the information you're seeking?
Well, Matt's on duty, which I found out through the rumor mill. He's working 2 to 2 now.
And we don't know if that's going to work.
But he is currently, do you know
Yes.
how many days a week? That's 2 to 2.
His same 86 hours per pay period.
Oh, so he's only 2 to 2.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and then how is that determined, 2 to 2? Just curious.
And that's, we just thought we'd try 2 to 2 bar time. And then we'd also discussed running like a swing partial and changing it up so that it's not always the same pattern. So
Well,
trying
that's-
different things.
So we might have some data since he's been working till 2, but it would be really good probably to have him work like a 3 to 3 or 5 to 5, something that's getting us in the middle of the night.
The chief's numbers were just posted. There's a couple night incidents.
Yeah.
So that I think is the data that we're looking for.
How long has that been taking place? That shift?
Last meeting.
Couple of weeks.
Public comment.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so not very long.
a month maybe, if that. I don't know how quickly it was put in.
Thank you for doing that, though, Nikki.
We're gonna try different things. We don't know that that's gonna work. And then trying to, I look
And
at,
he's responding to calls between 2 PM and 2 AM when he's home?
I guess we just
What
got
did you just see
numbers.
there, Nikki? Didn't you just say you saw something from?
No, I saw it on Facebook earlier. Nothing's in our email for his report.
it'll come out in the whole packet. So again, who knows that this is the most appropriate with what resources we have at the time to do it. If there's nothing going on after 11, do we change it to 10 to 10? Do we do 3 to 5? And then not just that, but then creating a longevity in a responder. So you look at part of the picture and you miss the other part of the picture. You have to look at so EMTs a decade ago, the average, that they stayed as EMTs was a lot longer than it is today. Right now they're running about 2 years and then they're done. So what caused that change in the longevity? So when you look at scheduling and scheduling PD, when you constantly change schedules, days, nights, that's one of the things that I've read creates not as much longevity in first responders. I'm just saying, making quick decisions not based on all of the information is, maybe I overanalyze things, but I like to look at, if we burn through them like there's no tomorrow, then you can just keep having an open position constantly. And that can be in county, that can be here, and let's not do
And
that.
that costs a lot of money.
To retrain and everything else. So.
It'll be like SpaceX.
So county, so not county commissioner, but sheriff's office, school, you guys, PD, and go from there. Before then, I'll have numbers from Duncan.
Can we express that, we need to get on this? I'm guessing Duncan would be pretty, responsive since this has drug on so long.
Out of curiosity, did anybody call and invite him?
I emailed and invited, pretty much begged for anybody to show up.
But yeah,
When
no,
they know
no,
that
Yeah,
you're-
exactly.
You can't expect people to show up.
Exactly.
Not a dig at you. I
No,
know. it's
no.
confusing.
No, I
But we
mean,
can't get upset for
The
other
normal,
days.
the normal email comes out, the email that says something's been posted to the website, I didn't get that.
I did not get it either, no, and I always do, but didn't.
I won't look at my phone during the meeting. So.
So where are we? Okay, so we obviously need these numbers and to get this meeting scheduled.
Correct.
And until then, we need to just wait and not be asking questions or being involved.
If you could funnel questions so that I can put them together so that everybody gets the same questions and we're not, do you see what I'm saying? If you're emailing and we're emailing and then we get information at 4, well, you got this, I don't know what time. Your email's back
4:28, no, 3:04.
at 3:04.
I should have forwarded it to all of you.
We get very close to rolling meetings, and that's what I'm saying. If you have a
Yeah,
question
right.
that you have for dispatch and Sheriff Hedges,
Which is why I didn't forward it to everybody, because I reached out. If I forwarded it to everybody, then it would be a rolling.
But
meeting,
you
correct?
can forward it to Nikki, and then
and
she can
has
forward
all
it
the
to us.
questions, and I can say these are the questions that are posed.
If you're just
Here's
sending
the
out
packet.
information, you can do that. But as soon as you start back
Discussing
and forth,
things.
that's,
So yes.
Sometimes we can communicate, and sometimes we won't.
Fact number
no,
five. Sometimes do
no
your homework,
discussion.
sometimes don't.
I think January is a good time to have Dan down again. Agreed.
Oh, to have
I
Dan?
agree with that.
Forrest also spoke quite extensively on the last training about conduct in meetings and rolling.
Parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, he went pretty in depth on it, like to the point where I was like, wow, that's gonna be tough.
No, I think going over rules and procedure and appropriate meeting conduct is important. I will go back to our last meeting when Attorney Greenbaum put his face in a resident's, his hand in a resident's face, Myron, who's sitting here, like this, not once, but twice, and stands over there and talks to John Moore behind a manila folder. We all need, I think, how we should be
Transparent.
dealing
Okay.
with.
Tempered protocol.
So I will schedule Dan for all of our boards and us.
I like that idea.
And I will contact MMIA and have something in-house with staff. Does that sound like that's going to be my plan? So as far as the MOU, this is where we were at. I will contact and email. I don't know who at the school is going to be I guess, Casey.
That's what I was just going to say.
Plasma. And then he can distribute as necessary there. So I don't know, that's school board. Anyway.
Oh, I don't know, yeah.
School is a very general term.
School board is in charge of finals.
Oh. So, but Casey's a good contact point for Kyle. And arrange that. Contact Duncan, see if he's got numbers ready, and run multiple different ways.
So I guess I'd ask for some clarification if the county sheriff's department can enforce our codes. I think they can
Yeah.
choose.
No, Duncan.
They can choose to do.
They can.
They
If we
don't
keep our
have to.
court, they can and they will.
That's one of those things that you just write into the MOU.
Sure.
Simply, like, you shall.
But just for a question, ultimately. That's all I was throwing it out there.
Yeah, Duncan clarified. We are the only town with our own court system, so that they can write into our court system.
Mm-hmm.
So what
Town ordinance.
What would you like from us before this meeting
of
stakeholders?
If you have questions all the way around, what they are, send to me so I can clarify or find somebody to clarify.
When do you need them done? By when?
Let's shoot for Monday morning because then I can compile everything Monday.
That'll give you enough time?
Yeah. Here Monday. Compile all of them. And what different models you want to see. We can also always use our other resources and send things out on Mayor's Listserv and Clerk's Listserv as far as what other towns do and how they budget different things.
I think having that information would be helpful.
I mean, I just reached out to a couple random towns to see what they did and what their budgets are for contracting, and
I think it's okay for you to ask and say, okay, pick any one of us and tell us to contact a different town, whichever ones, and everybody take a little bit of homework and call them up and see what they do. That way you don't have to do it all.
It worked well.
Cause you already talked to Manhattan, right?
I haven't talked to Manhattan. I talked to Shoto, who does such a
You talked to Manhattan? Okay. So you have that information. Who else? Corey, you talked to Big Sky?
Oh,
Shoto does.
you want me to talk to him, you're saying?
I don't know. Have you or no?
We have a PD.
No?
They don't have
I
a,
have a series of questions you're asking the
Right.
town, so that way you're asking them all the same
Same
questions.
questions.
That's a good.
yeah, there
Yep.
definitely need to be some consistency there.
Agreed.
They're different in their models though.
That's true too.
So that's what I'm like, if you talk to Manhattan, it's not the same as talking to Shoto. Manhattan has the PD and what it took to get there over that time period. Shoto completely contracts with their county for theirs. So you can,
Yeah, like don't come Virginia.
so any questions that you have for the sheriff's office? Nikki had some. I would like to work with Chris. I don't even know how far we need to go into that, but I want to make sure that all the billing for Zerker is appropriate. That's covered. That we make sure that it was all covered for this portion. And if we need to figure something else out or make an adjustment on things we still owed out of 22. Or if the 2 mills covered everything. You see what I'm saying? Because if we're paying retro for 22,
That's correct.
and even this portion of 23, and you're doing 2 mills, it's almost 10. Was that enough to cover all the additional dispatch service? All the extra costs that are accrued through Zerker and what's the other one? Multiples.
And what was the reasoning behind rescinding the COPS grant?
We weren't going to meet our requirements, and at that point for budget, so you're not eligible. And we've never been through preliminaries, and we knew we wouldn't make preliminaries. So rather than put grant board through that, when you know you don't meet one of the requirements.
Why did we apply if we?
We would have had we been able to adopt.
If we had
the budget.
approved our budget.
Yeah, which we couldn't and didn't. That's
Even
nothing on you guys.
Yeah, and with the audit report being.
That, how the COPS grant breaks each one down is different. It's not an overall audit findings. They're basically looking for long-term commitment into the program.
But did our audit of cash reconciliation affect the grant, the COP grant?
I don't know the answer to that without asking.
I'm just curious as to
Or
why.
looking into.
Because we're
what
saying
they
it's because
changed
of
on
the budget, that we didn't approve the budget, is
It's
what we're
not
saying
adopted.
at this time. Okay, I just want to understand that.
And they've changed requirements for the COPS grant between the last 3 years too, as far as what they look at and how long they look at each fiscal budget for. I mean, what you're spending your money on. And I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, I'm not going to give you a grant if you're not prioritizing that as one of your town budget items. And if you have the money to do it on your own, why would you get a grant when other towns are waiting for that and don't have the funds? So there's a lot of check boxes to even make it through preliminaries.
So we pulled it before preliminaries.
Yeah, we wouldn't have met, without a budget being adopted, we wouldn't have met preliminary. So it gives an opportunity.
Because basically we wouldn't have met fiscal responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whitefish actually
My screw-
put in for that same grant for an SRO, and they got it. So they have 2 school resource officers right now.
What's town do that?
Whitefish?
So the school here could apply for the CAPS grant?
No.
No, it has to be through the department.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I do feel that position's gonna, this is something that the town is kind of used to right now, and some people find benefit to it.
How big is that school?
The town is 6,000. I don't know what the size of the school is.
And that's their second?
It is their second. Yeah.
SRO.
They
That
have,
grant is only good for 3 years, right? Then you have to figure out.
yeah, they have a resort tax. They're good.
They're good.
All right, so I'll arrange a stakeholders meeting. If you have any questions for this Madison County Sheriff's Office, for John, or the school, if you could funnel those to me, I can compile them all together and send them out. That would be great.
By Monday.
By Monday.
So does that mean by the end of the day, by Monday morning?
Please, not at the end of the day.
Right.
Yes, please,
I used
Monday
to
by
say that
noon.
I did stuff at 5 o'clock there, so I got it to you on Monday like I was supposed to.
I know, but sometimes, we're in our job or our business
it.
and trying
Okay. Shoot for by the end of Sunday.
to, right? And then you might hit
You got it.
Monday morning.
So, changes to anything else in the budget before the hearing the 9th.
And tell me again why we should approve this budget without knowing, because I need to hear it clearly. Why we should approve this budget without having an MOU in place. I want to hear that clearly so I can.
So the money that is budgeted is what is owed for last year. You may make a budget amendment during a budget cycle. So if you how would I put this? If the town chose to go with Madison County as their 24/7 coverage and not have Ennis PD, that is not an 11th hour moment. The town people voted for 2 mills, and those are assessed in the property tax. So they're being collected, and those are very specifically only to a second officer. That is not towards how that was written, is very much towards a second officer for NSPD, not towards.
So if it's not used, then the money's not taken from the taxpayers.
It's already set.
It was already used for last year.
Go through with the abolishment, if you were to abolish.
You would have to do lots of different things.
And then, it would have.
I would think that if that is the public's choice and that is presented during meetings, that you have to actually create a transition period. Just like we did with the ambulance, where we said we're going to do on-call for a portion of it while you're getting set up. We actually transitioned from one to the other, and then made this time at this whatever is when the official transition takes over. Which was that?
It was a slightly different situation because they had to get set up with all the, like the sheriff's department is already essentially doing the job as opposed to like transferring equipment and them setting up a brand new department within their organization.
But, yeah, it's still a process. But, so you're saying,
What's on there is owed. I explained to Sheriff Hedges, that this is what my thought was. That once it's negotiated, we'll have to break it into however it's done. Whether you guys chose to go a hybrid between the two, or a just sheriff's office, or like, I guess my thought is there's however many people in this conversation. So we've seen two options, right? Maybe three. We shouldn't limit ourselves in our minds because this is the box that we were presented. You are all super intelligent people, and we have incredibly intelligent people in all of these groups. How do you accomplish a goal without, don't confine yourself to this box, is what I'm saying. We can be creative. We can try and work things in a different way. We've talked to other towns and seen what they've done. Is there a way that Ennis and Madison County can do something completely different and completely incredible in its own right? I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think we've entirely explored that. And how do you do that? You have to build a bridge somewhere, and I to be honest with you, I've been here for a long time, and I've seen this same conversation go down in different ways between different sheriffs and different Ennis police chiefs. So how do you do it differently and make it work? And that's, I think, what we should be looking at. One or the other, I don't know. I think it's a very dynamic time, and to not have any control other than a 3-year contract as to what goes on as far as your law enforcement makes me a little nervous. Those needs change from year to year depending on our environment and our dynamics and what moves in and what moves out. How do we do? And it really felt to me, and maybe this is just my feeling, but meeting with Duncan, like, he just wants what's best for the town, and I know all of you want what's best for the town, both financially and for its needs being met. How do we do that? And is it just a financial agreement and a handshake, or is this training in the right way? Is this a weekly get-together where, the sheriff and the police chief go through what works and what doesn't work as part of the requirement? A 15-minute conversation between people each week to check in might be part of it. I'm saying I think there is options that we're not exploring. We need to. And you guys are great at problem solving. And we need to look at those. So throw some ideas around in your head and not just option 1 and option 2. And what can we do to make it better in a different format?
And what was it that Duncan was wanting? Was it 16 mils or 17 mils?
That wasn't what Duncan wanted. That was
the previous.
That was
one,
a previous
the
one.
really old one.
Yeah.
Like 2011.
Yeah.
I think there is, basically when you're looking at what the town is responsible to do of providing a service, you want to look at what level of service that you want and which provider provides it at the best price as well. And then to meet all of those requirements in your contract. That's what ultimately your charge as commissioners are to do, is to make those.
And can we do this we keep saying what the sheriff's office can do here. We have a very weird patchwork thing, and I think as part of an MOU, we say what we can do to them to take some of the heat off of them.
good luck tomorrow.
Oh, Mustang.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think if you actually built this as a little bit more of teamwork, both participants would
Holy
benefit
Who would have
in
thought?
a different way. I do super.
More clarification on your budget with the sheriff.
Do you have the funds to do both? No. We do not have the ability to finish out the year. You have to be able to know what the number is first from the county and what they will and will not provide.
Which makes, we need teamwork and we need to make an effort. That's all I'm getting at, and that's
I
why
don't think
where
that-
my frustration lies.
When I talked to Sheriff Hedges again, he was in the same mind. If you can reduce costs across both ways and make both parties mutually benefited by a different schedule, a different response, a different protocols, basically. That's where I would like to start, but that's not up to me in any shape, way, manner, or form. But I think you're meeting with the stakeholders and seeing what. But when Sheriff Hedges said that he really thinks that it's valuable to have Ennis to have its police department, that, I don't know.
But you still feel, us as commissioners, that we should sign off on this budget not knowing where we're at with the MOU. I need to understand that. And
Duncan
being
is
very sincere.
incredibly realistic human being. And he knows that some of it may be retro, depending on the decision. Will be part of the 24-25 budget. That depending on which way it goes, it might take 3 or 4 months to get through. And it would be a partial contract if they covered everything. If we didn't have NSPD, if we do continue in some other portion, like how do you say we're going to build this amount per hour and not know what that's going to look like? We talked about the school and how sometimes like longer, 3-5 years contracts when it's something new isn't always the best idea because you don't know what you need to adapt and then you're stuck in that for 3 to 5 years and you don't have the ability to renegotiate like some needs. So when we were talking about ours, like maybe we see how this works for a year, 2 years, or shorter time period. So you can amend things if you can afford them. And again, where I guess the county commissioners, this is really in Sheriff Hedges' ball, and that was the hard part too. Like we had an initial meeting with Under Sheriff Schroeder, and because Duncan was at training, and so he's like, well, I can't commit to this, that, or the other, anything we said, because it's not his spot, which is totally understandable. So then,
And when
wait
was that
till-
meeting though?
That was
On the Monday.
it was the Monday before that. And Kristen was out of town before that, trying to meet. We kept hitting these camp meets at this time because one of the players is out.
It just, to me, it seems like there was not much effort made there.
I mean, you met with him same day, right?
Yeah.
you do have a requirement at some point to adopt a budget, and I don't, to stipulate that it be based on this MOU, is not entirely okay. There's things that have to be done, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, well, can you purchase that? I don't know. Actually, we can't do anything until the budget's approved. Knowing that you can amend a budget based on whatever is negotiated. And again, it's not like Sheriff Hedges is like all of this right front up now. He understands budgets. He's been through them. When I talked to him and said part of it might have to be retro, he's like, I get that. You know, I want to make sure that all of our costs for dispatch are covered. And when we found out that we weren't being billed for 2, like, we need to fix that. I don't see any point in holding off on adopting a budget.
So can, I guess I would ask anyone, I guess, Green Bomb or Ginger, if we can put items on the agenda with a 4/5 majority or super majority that ensures that we're able to put this on there. I'm 100% on board with talking about this every meeting if we have to. So, I mean, that's ultimately, is that ultimately like what our concern is here in the room, is that we can't and this is an item that needs to be discussed. You look, if you want to make a quick parallel, an unincorporated town gets all their decisions made by the county commissioners. What's to say that we shouldn't disband our incorporated town and just let the county commissioners make all of these decisions? You know, and that's part of what we're looking at here. This is a smaller version of our police force, of the county police force, is kind of how I view it to a certain degree. So I think it does need to be talked about. It affects, our school resource officer is somewhat of a relatively new thing, but it's been going on for 5 years now, something like that. So, and I think it's important. But
That's a smaller community.
mm-hmm.
We're dealing with a lot more people now. Even the schools make a lot more students.
Yeah, everything is changing. So, agreed.
So any other questions about the budget? Any changes? Clarifying, like, there were huge changes that were made since we have a planning board now. That was a huge portion of it. It's very easy to miss what isn't there in a budget. And so my first round of budget last year, I compared what was done prior, as far as I just looked at the number of the year before and the year before, and went through that, and does it all make sense? This year I looked at it from what is here and what isn't here. And so that affects things when we've never had a signed budget. It seems like a silly thing to not have in my mind, because you don't meet safety requirements now. Our signs are supposed to be breakaway signs. We're not actually meeting our safety requirements unless we start replacing things. it's easier to identify those things when we have our PERs, our master plans, our growth policies, our this, that, and the other, but our street standards isn't there. I didn't know that that was something that needed addressed because, while contrary to rumor, there wasn't a whole bunch of people that got drunk and knocked down a whole bunch of signs. The wind actually took out a whole bunch of signs, and it's $1,000 a post. So time to put that in the budget. We have a grader that's older than dirt, and we had a snow plow that was two-wheel drive with no heater, no wipers, no reverse. At some point, my question became, why were these things in this state? And that's when I realized there was no repair and maintenance budget in Public Works and no replacement budget.
And I apologize for that, because you had asked me about a CIP, but I didn't understand, because I went through the book and there wasn't really anything in it, but I didn't understand that you wanted a CIP for each department,
That's
which
what we
makes
need.
sense.
And now that I've dug into it more, I'd like to, we'll talk about that. I'll put that in there. I just want to get it so that all of our planning documents are up to date, so that everybody knows or is comfortable with where we need to be, not just now, but 10 years from now. We started with the water and wastewater. I tried to start with the infrastructure items first. We have an amazing planning board that has been working on the growth policy and starting on that. The master plan was done. So now we really need capital improvement to be done, and streets, and that was my whole goal before I left the seat, was to get those documents in order and a plan established so that somebody had a guideline for what to do and not nothing. But yeah, so those items never being in a budget affected this budget greatly. We're playing catch up. I would hate to not put any money aside for a vehicle in my own personal finances and then be like, I don't have anything that works now. And I have to either figure out how to buy something used or something new, and the ramifications of either one of those. So a little more planning on our, and then again, I still want to know when the library's roof was put on, what state each building is in, not just the equipment itself, but we need an evaluation of, I looked at the nursing home and I was like, I swear they just did that roof a couple years ago. Maybe it was 10 years ago, I don't remember. But knowing that and then creating a document so that we know when those are planned for. So that you can not have giant changes in budget that don't make sense because you've never seen it before because they've never been there. So that was a big chunk of change between planning board and all the changes in Public Works. Sidewalk really wasn't that much, but I think we need to have a little bit in there every year for those repairs so that we're not trying to figure that out as it goes. So any other questions for me on budget? Okay. I just wanted to clarify that because there was not, I know in one of our public comments it was that money was being siphoned from the library into PD, and I don't know.
I got asked that question today. I didn't
there
say
was
anything.
There's a lot, and there's no easy, quick, simple budget discussion that is a 5-minute discussion. Those numbers are poured through 5,000 times by department heads. There's a lot of work that goes into them in different ways. I saw budgets change before they ever got to me 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then for me to see them and say, like, hey, this is completely missing and now we got to reevaluate. Those things happen, and we have to face the fact that we need to plan farther ahead for multiple areas. Or we're going to pay, we spent $15,000 grading the roads last year. to have somebody else do it, and that was one time. And before the grader broke down, I know they were done several times a year. So we don't have the ability to do that in the budget. So we have to be able to figure out either how to do it ourselves with equipment that works, not from 1967. All right. So, and again, I would love to have the crystal ball and know exactly how this is all going to work out. I can't say with 100% certainty that even our water plan might not have to change based on a tank status. So your budget is your best guess at what, or best plan for what this is going to be. And if it changes, then everybody has the ability to hear those changes and why those changes are being made. That is why you have a budget amendment hearing, should you need one. And again, I think the sheriff's office is amazing to work with, and I don't anticipate a weird number that they're not willing to work with. Sheriff Hedges very much wants to work with the town, so. And I think Schroeder said that like several times, like even when the sheriff wasn't there. Just has the best interests in how do we make it work. They had several things that they wanted, things we want. How do we make that work into something different? Okay. So again, have fun the nights without me. So Monday's my last chance if you have questions or anything ahead of time.
Ready for this task?
Of course he is. Okay. If you have questions, just ask. I mean, and he has warned me, so.
Took all my stuff to the dry cleaners today.
Before there's any weird, is there any meetings that school board, I have to just, when's the school board? If I'm trying to do a stakeholders meeting, there's 9 billion meetings. I feel like there should be like a giant board somewhere in town. It's like, this is all the meetings and when they're going on because, and don't forget this football game and somebody's got this and this, that, and the other. So if you're trying to get a stakeholders meeting together, are any of you not here at the end of the month or what's going on?
End of November?
From past the 9th, because I
don't think so. But if I was, it would be an emergency and I could call in.
None?
I'm gone the 12th of November to the 12th of December.
Fine.
Or something close to that.
Oh, okay. Where are you biking?
Japan.
Oh, good for you.
Take you longer than that to get there.
Right. Well, you might miss out. But that's okay.
He's gonna have fun.
We got 5 questions.
So what are you doing on the 9th?
I have
training for CPA. Yeah.
It's my last chance to get my CE hours and so I can keep my license.
So there's no meeting next week?
No, yes, there is. I'm just not going to be here.
Okay. So
He'll be conducting it.
He's in charge.
Got it. Okay.
I will miss my first meeting.
Planning board meetings on Tuesday.
Okay. So planning board is the 7th.
The 7th here, 6:15.
I did see that.
Does anybody know off the top of your head what school board is? I'll look.
Do you know? No.
I don't have it on that computer. School board.
6:15, Craig?
Affirmative.
There's an email from the school board in your announcement.
Okay.
Oh, no, that was a special.
Are we done?
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
Okay, more meeting.
Not meetings, we don't make those.
Nope.
Yeah, because I did screw up.
Can I have those invoices back? I can find out stuff and give it to you back.
It would have been loose. But if we have some that are separate, see that are building us, that are part of that, and that are building us. So, all the tables. Randy, I'm putting your coat here. It was Matt the rest. So you don't go to court in his car? You don't go to court in his car? Because you do know that that seems ridiculous. No, like, since we don't have holding. And neither does Madison County, and that's why. But to say they all go to court in the car, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Not the other way. So you just let them go to court in the car and then let them back on the street. I don't know anything about that, but I know it's hard to get someone to the table when you disparage them. Profusely in the document before you want them. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep thinking clean my mouth. I don't think I can do that. I know. Not that it ever matters. No, I know. It's like the anticipation, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I am. We have a couple friends. They're not? No. How? Well, like Julie Nevins. Oh, I forgot she's pregnant. Are you guys doing the same time? She's March, yeah. When are you? Okay, so they're at my house. Well, you know what, you too. Yeah. I think it's probably different, right? Like Andy wants to, but she's like no. I totally forgot. I haven't seen any posts from her. Yeah, I got a belly. It's so cute. She was last night. She was whole breed when we were trick or treating. She's like sitting there. What does Bo want? He wants a brother. He says, I already have a sister, so I'll take a brother now. Oh, right, that's true. Yeah. But then we had to come, dog sticks, and it's not her husband, so he keeps maybe it's a boy, maybe it's a girl. God knows. He's all about it. So.
What is the acronym MVM stand for?
Manor? Manor? Depends what you're reading, I guess. Good night.
Right.
So if there's any other things. Hey, Marcus or somebody else asked them, you know, what about that? What about that? What about that? Oh.
Maybe they experienced or they know of that we don't know of. I want to use this with you. It sounds like you guys have already done some of that. Done kind of stuff.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. So
Once you get there.
I think sounds like the only, goal that I've kind of been sort of left out for like the fact there. As long as they know what's going on, or that even if they're not involved, as long as they know, maybe they won't feel left out or blindsided, or at least they feel like they have. If we like them enough to.
Right? Oh, babe. I'm sorry. Probably still skating out there.